So you mentioned if you're a young person in Pakistan, for example, or anywhere in the world, you said you need to focus on building skills. You taught yourself to sell through that agency the writing agency essentially, right? Or I don't know if there were other things you did to teach yourself to sell. And then I do know that you run a Web3 development agency
Yes.
currently. So you taught yourself to code. So maybe can you give some details on how you got yourself to where you are today, how you built those skills up, maybe for others in the
For sure.
audience that are listening to this?
For sure. I think in order to do anything in life, you need to have a burning desire, because that's the source of anything that you do, right? There has to be a reason of why you're doing it. For me, the burning desire, the why was very strong. That's why I was able to do that. So before even any learning, any skill assigning, or what to do, everyone needs to have a really clear why on why they are doing it, right? If they're willing to dedicate 5, 10, 20 years of their life, they should know why they are doing it, because on the path, there'll be a lot of obstacles, failures, and challenges. And if you don't have a really strong why, or a really strong reason, or really deep burning desire, it's very easy for you to give up. So for me, the why was very simple, clear, and the I had a burning desire. So once I had the realization that okay, I can make money online with the skills that I have from my laptop, I scaled that. So I spent the next 3 years, and it's not just one thing that led me there. There are a lot of things, right? It was books, online, podcasts, and individuals, their stories that inspired me. Then the circumstances that are having, and the people that came into my life. So when people are like, okay, if there was one thing that led you here, it's not just one thing. There are a lot of things that are happening simultaneously that get you there. So once I scaled that agency, I realized that I want to do something big. So again, human beings are, never satisfied. So even though I was making really good money as compared to the Bahrain, because I was earning mainly in dollars, I was like, okay, I need to do the next big thing. So I asked myself, if I kept on doing this writing thing or this post writing thing, what's the maximum scale I can achieve? And the answer that came to me was not that big, right? Again, because there isn't a lot of demand, and I'm very grateful I took that decision, because after ChatGPT came out, my that business model was completely obsolete if I was still doing it. So what I did for that business was I delegated it to a few of my friends, and it was mainly on autopilot, that business, and I set out to learn new things. So I enrolled in university in software engineering, and I was learning programming mainly. And when I met my co-founder Shehroz and Talha, they were my friends since fourth grade, and now we're doing business still. I thought, okay, with their skills and my skills combined, we can replicate the same model that we did in ghostwriting business. I can do that in a software business. Um, so the way we started was we started going into different hackathons. So hackathon is basically like a 2-day event where you'll build something and then try to market. So we started going into a lot of competitions, and we lost a lot of them initially, but eventually we started winning these competitions. And one of the competitions that we won was a game jam. Basically, we had to build a game in 48 hours. We won the third prize, and again, what happens is, so there's this framework called the success cycle, which has 4 components, which is basically belief, potential, action, and results. So everyone, whenever they want to do something, they start with a belief, and then depending on their level of belief, they're able to tap into their potential, and then from potential they take actions, and from actions they get results. So at that point, I had another realization: the bigger your belief is, the more you'll be able to tap into your potential. The more you tap into your potential, the more actions you take, and the more actions you take, the more results you get, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and a positive success cycle. On the other hand, which I spent the most of my life in with a very low belief. And when you have a lot of low belief, you don't tap into your potential, and you don't take action, you don't get results. So that was something when I realized, okay, we spent a lot of time, we had a lot, and we had believed that we can win this thing. So we won that. And after that, I'm skipping a lot of details, but one day in 2019, Amazon Web Services, there was a company who came to our university, and they were giving a workshop, and we're like, okay, we need to work at this company, but we didn't know how and where to start. So, and a few months passed by, and then there was this event. One of my friends told me, Talha, be there at 8 a.m. So we went to this new building, and once we were there, we're like, okay, this is Amazon Web Services. And we're like, okay, this is the company we wanted to work in. So there was a competition which was supposed to be for fourth year students, and we were second year students, and we weren't supposed to be there. And when they asked us like which year are you in, we're second year, like you can't be here. But we were so persistent that we were like, no, we want to be a part of this competition. I think one takeaway here is that you have to be very persistent, because if you ask, you will get. If you don't ask, you will never get. So what ended up
Mhm.
happening, there were like 6 or 7 different teams, but we were the only team that showed up for 18 days straight, right? And eventually we ended up winning that competition. So another thing takeaway for us that is consistency, because it's really easy for people to get motivated and make plans, but it's all about consistency, putting in and day out. So we when we won that competition, the government of Bahrain, and Amazon Web Services, the company itself, like, this is something very innovative. So what we built was that in the world there are around 400 million people that are deaf, more than that, that can't have a normal communication with you. So let's say if I was a deaf person, I could not understand you unless and until you know American Sign Language or any other sign language, basically ASL. So we built a prototype that, and then again, during those days, there was one video where a deaf mute person was trying to order through a drive-through, and that representative was being rude to him just because they did not understand him. So we built a prototype that could, if you sign in front of a camera, and that would convert it into audio, and then once a normal person would speak into that device, that would convert it into a sign language. So that prototype was very interesting. So eventually, Amazon hired us for 2 years. We worked there as interns, and they were like, "Okay, you have built this prototype. Now go build it into a business." Now we're 3 guys with coding skills, and knew a little bit about business, but we didn't know how to run a startup. In order to run a startup, you technically need to raise money. We're not that well off where we could just keep investing our own money. So we were trying to raise money from investors, but no one was willing to fund us. Everyone was like, "This is too ambitious. What if Google built this? What you would do?" And again, there were a lot of rejections we were facing. So uh, we were figuring out what to do, because if we don't have any more money, we can't keep continuing our idea, and eventually we'll have to go do a job again. So one of my friends, Talha and Shehroz, they got into crypto mining, which is basically, so the way blockchains work is you need to have a node to validate transaction, and the people that are facilitating those transactions, they're called miners, and they earn a certain percentage of that transaction. So they started crypto mining, and they started making money through that. And personally, the exposure I had to cryptocurrency was I had just invested in Ethereum, and it was every day there was, the price was increasing. I could not understand why it was happening, but it was being every day the price was rising.
What
So
is
in
the timing
21,
of this? I'm just curious. Is this 2020, 2021?
so this was, my friend started mining in 2020. Yeah, and I personally started investing in 2020 as well. And again, I'll explain later on. So that was around 2020. So in 2021, we were still in a position where we had this prototype of the product. But we did not had money. No one was willing to fund us. And then again, we were running out of time as well, because our families had expectations from us. Okay, like, guys, what are you doing? You can't keep on doing something where you're not making anything, right? And personally, for me, I could not afford to do that. I need to start making money, because my other business was also not performing really well. So we're like, okay, guys, we need to do something big. I was scrolling one day through TikTok, and I saw a video where the guy was like, there's this thing called drop shipping, where you can basically have an online store and make millions of dollars. And like, okay, this is how I'll make my next million. So I started spent some time figuring that out, but that also did not work out. So during this process, I tried a lot of different ventures that failed. And that's one thing, right? People only see the thing that worked, but they never saw the several other things that failed. So and again, fast forward to 2021, where like we were absolutely disheartened. Okay, we will stop this. We can't continue. We're not able to raise money, and we're just wasting our time. So we're sitting in my friend's car. Shahroz was like, okay, what to do next? And it's like, there's something called an NFT. And I was like, okay, what's an NFT? And he showed me a picture of a bored ape or a monkey. I'm not sure if you have seen those pictures online, but it's basically an image of an ape. And he told me that this picture is worth around 1.2 million. And I was like, how is that possible? And at that time, my brain started, like, okay, how is this possible? Why would someone buy an image for millions of dollars? So I was hooked to that concept, and I spent the next 3 4 weeks. I stopped everything and I just focused on learning everything I could about NFTs. And then I realized, okay, we have been ignorant and missing out on a very big revolution or technology shift that is happening. So to give you context, when initially there was barter system, right, where people used to trade wheat for meat and meat for wheat and stuff like that. That eventually they had coins and eventually they had paper currency. When they had paper currency, it was backed by gold. So a country could only print as much money as they had. But eventually in 1970s, the US President Nixon broke the gold standard. And after that, the US has been printing as much money as we want, which caused a lot of problems in the financial system. So when the internet came out, there was a group of people called the cypherpunks that were trying to create a digital currency. And a lot of effort were made, but eventually every effort was, useless. Eventually, Bitcoin succeeded in 2008, which was the first digital currency that was fully decentralized, and it solved the problem of double spend. So the problem of double spend is that, let's say if you were using digital money via email, and if I send you a picture of $1, I could send it to you and I could send it to another person. So eventually I'll spend $1 twice, right? So that's why the problem of double spend was not solved, but with Bitcoin, they were able to solve that. So initially Bitcoin came out, which was mainly for two purposes. That was, transfer of value and store of value, like a digital gold. Then eventually Ethereum came out, which was like a global computer. And then a lot of things keep on happening. Then when I understood what's going on, I realized, okay, this is too big to ignore. So similarly, 20 years back when the internet came out, and the companies that build something are, ruling the world, like Amazon, Facebook, Google, and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I want to be a part of this revolution, and I want to create something in this new Web3 world, that can have an impact, and eventually, the goal is to make money. I could make money. So we jumped in. We dropped that project that we were working on. And we launched a project which was called a game. It was a Web3 game. 3 weeks in, we sold out the initial connection, and we made $100,000 in 3 weeks of time. I'm like, okay, cool. This is amazing. So and again, we're like, we were all in, and the way we made that money was through pure grind. We spent 18 or 19 hours a day going into different Discord servers, different Twitter profiles, and we're just, constantly grinding, and eventually it paid off, through which we learned a lot and through which we made a lot of good connections in the Web3 ecosystem. Um, Now, what happened was that when we were working on that project, we were developers, so we could do most of the stuff ourselves. But there was one thing we could not do, which was smart contract development. So think of smart contract development as programs on the blockchains. So in order to run any program on the blockchain, you need to have a smart contract. So, and we were trying to find people who could do it, and there was no one, literally no one online. Even if you found people, they were anonymous, they were charging a lot, and they were just, untrustworthy. So that was like one problem in the back of our head. And the way we solved it was that we learned ourselves. So going back to the project, so we had the runway in crypto, right? And we're like, okay, we'll keep on working on this project. But what ended up happening, the market crashed and all of our runway was wiped out. And that was a mistake on our side where we did not, convert it into fiat or something. We just kept it in crypto. So when the runway was wiped out, we're like, okay, what do we do now? We don't have anything to do. So we decided that, okay, we will use our skills, sell our skills, and then take that money to continue on this project. So that was the initial plan back in 2022 when we started this company called Nalike Studio. 3 friends, and we'll just sell our skills. Little did we know that this would turn into a whole company. We through friends or through word of mouth, we got a project from Bugatti Group, which is a Canadian company that's used to sells luxury handbags, and they wanted a development partner. They wanted a company who could take care of their entire tech, and we're like, we could do it. So we did that, and a few months in, they succeeded. They made some good money, and through that, we got a lot of recognition. And ever since then, day by day, it's been 3 years now. We have grown from a team of 3 to 15, and we do end-to-end product development in the Web3 space. So if any company or startup wants to build a product, because again, there's a huge learning curve, right? So if someone is coming from the traditional world, where traditional development world, they have to learn a lot about blockchains, they have learned a lot about smart contracts. So we help those companies, speed that process up by building the product. So that's where we are right now, running this company full time with 15 people, and Yeah, it's going great.